As the 1960s were inching their way to the finish line, a group of filmmakers were shooting a movie that would make a ferocious mark on the world of cinema. Their creation? Night of the Living Dead. Still the scariest movie I've ever seen. The movie depicts one hell of a rotten night, suffered by a group of people in an old farmhouse, weathering the sudden invasion of zombies. There are a lot of classic horror movie motifs going on. A group of people stuck in an enclosed space, fighting an outside force that's picking them off one by one. It's a story told in films as varied as The Thing, The Birds, Prince of Darkness, Signs. It also gave the world the zombie picture as we now know it, the ghoulish, cannibalistic Walking Dead. The movie is bleak and merciless. Nobody cracks wise, there aren't moments of self-aware humor. In growing numbers, the zombies attack, killing the refugees off one by one, while they're distracted by petty infighting and a lack of cooperation. In the end, there is no last-minute heroics. When the zombies crash into the house, it's every man for themselves. And the only one to survive is shot dead by the cavalry. Just more dead meat for the bonfire. A lot has been made of the fact that a black actor was cast in the lead role. Romero has said there was no message behind the decision. Dwayne Jones was just the best professional actor they could get. 45 years ago, Night of the Living Dead was unimaginably shocking. An audience used to the comforts of the Universal monsters and cheesy sci-fi threats weren't prepared for the apocalyptic vision of terror and violence on display. Roger Ebert wrote about the audience's shell-shocked reaction when he caught the film at a kiddie matinee. Remember, this film predates the MPAA rating system. Another antiquated aspect of Ebert's review is that Ben is never referred to by name, but only as the Negro. Especially odd, as Ben's race has no bearing on the story.
Hey, kid. Get out of here and throw
Hey, look at that guy. Doesn't he look like Kirk Douglas? The movie was originally going to be called Night of the Flesh Eaters, but as, amazingly, this title was already taken, the film was called Night of the Living Dead. I'm glad. It's a classier title, more haunting. The filmmakers, I'm sure, do not share my enthusiasm for the title change, which had disastrous consequences. In the late 1960s, U.S. law required a copyright notice to be affixed to any movie. This notice was placed under the title Night of the Flesh Eaters, and whoever put in the new Night of the Living Dead title neglected to include the copyright notice. This wasn't noticed until after the film had been distributed, and as a result, the movie became public domain. This is why you'll find it put out by just about every cheap fly-by-night VHS DVD distributor. Since no one owned it, all sorts of bastardized versions are available, from colorized to versions that add a laugh track and rap beats to make the movie more hip. Even the original filmmakers got into the act, inspired no doubt by George Lucas's special edition Star Wars movies. A 30th anniversary edition of Night of the Living Dead was produced, including a new music score and brand new scenes. There is no way to be diplomatic. This version is embarrassingly terrible. The new scenes center around the first cemetery zombie, who attacks the Caucasians. They seem to think it would be interesting to give the audience a backstory on this zombie, explaining he was a recently executed child killer.
Why don't you just take him straight to the garbage dump?
Amen, buddy.
Yeah, he's garbage, all right. But we're getting paid to take him to the cemetery. Art Krantz and his wife, they want to make sure he's put 6 feet under.
What creative sense does this make? Isn't what's horrifying about the living dead is that these are our friends and our loved ones coming back to get us? That any dead body will rise as a ravenous ghoul? Making the first zombie some sort of monstrous supervillain just lessens the shock and the horror.
Look, he's moving! He's moving! Help me, Daddy!
It also doesn't help that they got the original actor, Bill Heinzman, 30 years older and looking 70 pounds heavier, to play the zombie in the new scenes. And they actually had the nerve to claim the new scenes integrate with the old films seamlessly. Although, to be fair, their new scenes placed into the old movie no worse than George Lucas's new crap does into the Star Wars. The rest of the new scenes involve some Anton LaVey-looking preacher, who was played by the composer of the film's new score.
Heed the word of the Lord, or the dead will rise again possessed by demons.
I don't know what any of this crap is supposed to be about. It takes us away from the farmhouse, the real story. It's all useless filler.
This is Mushu, my companion and protector.
This 30th anniversary version seems to have disappeared. I don't think it's put out anymore. Still, I hate the idea these DVDs are floating around out there at flea markets and pawn shops. And someone who's never seen Night of the Living Dead before might pick it up, watch 5 minutes and be like, the hell kind of crap movie is this? I'm not watching this baloney. Most people consider Ben the hero of the movie. I can get behind that. He's the de facto leader, the one who is cool-headed and tries to get everyone to work together. Just so long as you ignore that part where he slaps the Caucasian around when no one's looking. However, Ben's heroism becomes seriously flawed when you remember he's the one who gets everybody else killed.
That's the cellar. It's the safest place.
When the group first meets up at the farmhouse, the angry Caucasian thinks they should board themselves up in the basement to be safe. Ben thinks they should stay upstairs.
You're insane. The cellar's the safest place.
You box yourself in the cellar and those things get in the house, you've had it. At least up here you have a fighting chance.
He would have convinced me with his argument.
You bastards.
The majority side with Ben. They stay upstairs and engineer a plan to steal a truck and drive away. This backfires, turning a quarter of their numbers into barbecue for the ghouls. Then the zombies come crashing through Ben's piss-poor boarding job and carry the others away to chow down on. Looks like they should have gone into the basement after all.
I'm telling you, they can't get in here.
And how does Ben survive the night? By boarding himself up down in the basement. So when Ben gets shot by the posse at the end of the movie, maybe it's not cruel irony, but poetic justice.
Good shot.
That's for getting everybody killed, lame-o. Basement controversy aside, I consider this one of the few perfect movies. One that created a myth that continues to influence cinema 45 years later. I read it was selected for inclusion in the National Film Registry. I don't know what that is, but it sounds important. I hope that when the planet Earth is finished, and the giant space ark has room for a couple of movies to carry to our new civilization on Mars, that Night of the Living Dead is one of the few chosen to be brought on board. I just hope it isn't the 30th anniversary version.